Hey True Believers, I'm Tiffany and I'm back in the ComicPOP kitchens where we're going to be going on another culinary adventure. This one's pulled directly from the pages of a Marvel comic book because if you're a Spider-Man fan, then inevitably you've probably run into Aunt May's Wheatcakes. Peter Parker seems to love them. Aunt May says it's his favorite food. They look like pancakes, but what exactly is a wheat cake? If you're like me, you're not 100% certain what that is, but apparently Marvel does know what it is. And in an annual they printed in 1996, they had a recipe for Aunt May's Wheatcakes. Well, we tracked it down and we're going to be bringing it to you today. So why don't you come along as we do some wall crawling and some web slinging and find out just how good are Aunt May's Wheatcakes.
You'll need an electric griddle or frying pan. You're going to want something to get your wheat cakes onto the griddle. I'm going for something in the 1/3 cup range, but you could do something more in the 1/4 cup range. You'll need a spatula, Spider-Man theme not necessary, but helpful. You'll need a balloon whisk, you'll need a mixer, the balloon whisk attachment isn't necessary. You'll need a sieve, and at least 2 bowls, and you'll need a rubber scraper, and possibly a comically large rubber scraper. For our dry ingredients, you'll need 1 cup of whole wheat flour, 1 cup of buckwheat flour, 2 teaspoons of double-acting baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now on to the wet stuff. You'll need 2 cups of buttermilk, a 1/4 cup of melted butter. I like the microwave to get it this way. You're also going to need some vegetable oil in order to oil up your griddle or frying pan. You're going to need 2 teaspoons of molasses and 2 eggs, separated.
Now, I'm sure for a seasoned cook like May Parker, separating one of these didn't really seem like a daunting task. For the rest of us, getting the yolk away from the white can seem like an amazing or spectacular feat. Let's go over a couple of tactics that can really help us out.
Okay, now I'm probably not the best at this, but let me at least show you what I like to do. I'm going to take my egg and I'm going to tap it gently against this plate here. Yeah, you can use the edge of a bowl, but sometimes that goes a little rough. I very gently put my fingers into the shell until I broke it open, and then I'm going to use the shells like 2 cups, passing that yolk back and forth until I get all the white off of it. There'll be some parts that seem thicker than others that might take a little maneuvering, but you can get it. Then you take your yolk and put it in a separate bowl. Let me show you another way to do it. Again, tap on the plate, gently get your fingers in there just to get that shell open. Now this time I'm going to just take the yolk and put it right into my fingers, and if you can do it gently enough, you can actually strain the white right through your own hand. See? Okay, let's get this recipe started. We're going to take our buckwheat and pour it into our larger bowl, and then we're going to take our whole wheat flour, and we're going to actually put that into the sieve. Aunt May wants us to sift this through. That's going to help to break up any lumps or get any sort of weird crunchy bits out of the flour, so just tap it back and forth until it gets all powdery. Next, you can add your double-acting baking powder, baking soda, and salt right into that mixture. Then grab your balloon whisk and just stir that until it's pretty combined. Just back and forth there, just like that. All right, we're done with mixing. Thank you. Okay, yeah, we can get the bowl out here. Next, take your 2 teaspoons of molasses and put it directly into your buttermilk. I decided I would do it in my measuring cup, but you could always do this in a separate bowl. Molasses is very sticky, so it may be hard for you to get it out of its container and into here, but just work on it and get as much as you can in. Then take your whisk and mix this up again until it's fairly combined. All right, let's start putting these wheat cakes together. Take those 2 yolks and beat them fairly thoroughly with your balloon whisk. I'm telling you, this balloon whisk is all over this recipe. And then it doesn't stay on my bowl, so I'm just gonna put it on the table. Now I'm gonna grab my buttermilk with the molasses in it, and I'm gonna pour it right into the dry mixture that we made earlier. I'm gonna start whisking that in. You might want a slightly larger bowl. I chose this bowl. It ended up working out, but still, sometimes bigger is better when it comes to bowl sizes. Next, add your butter. You don't want that to be too hot or you'll risk cooking your eggs. Then you can take those egg yolks and pour that right in there. Take your whisk and then just start mixing the batter up here. You don't want to over-mix this, but you definitely want everything to be combined. You can use your scraper here in order to get everything all incorporated. You want everything to be pretty well mixed by the end of this. So it looks kind of something like this, like wet cement. Okay, remember those egg whites? Well, this is why we had to get the yolks out. May wants us to whip these up, so you can't have any yolks in there if you want them to actually get fluffy. You're looking for stiff peaks, so when the egg whites start getting opaque, you're going to want to slow down and start checking until they look something like that. If you overmix them, it's all over. So before we put those egg whites into our mix, I'm actually going to alter the recipe a little bit. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of water because this batter is just too thick. You could additionally add extra buttermilk in the earlier stage. This is a call you have to make before you put the egg whites in though. So once you have that combined, take your egg whites and your comically large spatula, I chose it so you could see what I'm doing, and put your egg whites in the bowl. Now you're going to want to fold these in. So that means taking your spatula, cutting down the center of the batter, and then folding that over. You can see me doing this motion over and over again. This protects the egg whites from being destroyed by a mixing process, and you keep that light fluffiness you get from them. So once you're done with that, again, don't overmix this here. We're about ready to make our wheat cakes. So I'm going to turn my griddle on and keep it between 250 and 300. If you're using a frying pan, keep your stove around medium, low heat. I put the oil on a paper towel so that I could get a nice even coverage on my griddle. Just be careful, don't burn yourself here. That's why I folded a bunch. To see if it's ready, I'm going to use some water. When it does that, we're good to go. Okay, now let's get some wheat cakes on the griddle. I'm using my ladle and my rubber scraper here in order to actually smooth the pancakes out. My ladle probably holds around 1/3 of a cup. I wanted slightly larger ones. I even got a little mini one there. And if you don't have a ladle, you could always use a measuring cup. So you're gonna keep these on here until you start to see bubbles coming up. That's steam escaping. Then you get your spatula out and give them a flip. This is where you really need to consider what your griddle or frying pan is made of. Mine has a non-stick coating, so I'm using a plastic spatula so I don't scrape it. So you can tell when they're done either by gently lifting up the side to see if they're golden on the bottom, or by the touch. They'll be pretty tender and a little springy. I'm gonna do a couple more here. Made kind of a monster one there, but you know, it all worked out in the end. By the way, did you know buckwheat isn't related to wheat?
Alright, so that was the recipe, with just a few minor adjustments there. And I figured last time I tried the cookies, but when it comes to something like this, when it comes to something so quintessential to Spider-Man, we gotta have this guy try them.
Yes, I think so.
Have you ever tried Aunt May's wheat cakes?
I've never had a wheat cake in my life, and I've always wanted to try them. They always captured my imagination as a long-time Spider fan. As a child, they always captivated me. My parents never were willing to discover or look up anything even remotely similar to a recipe like that. So
okay.
It's the first time I've ever tried a wheat cake, and anyone's ever deigned to attempt to make them in the first place. So.
Well, I'm no May Parker, but hopefully I've done a good enough job with her tutelage and her directions.
Right.
So without further ado, there you go.
They look pretty much like they came out of a comic book, I have to admit. Now, I don't normally eat my pancakes this way with Captain Canuck brand maple syrup.
That's right.
Thanks to Cape Joel for hooking us up with this.
Came all the way from Canada.
And with real butter, but I feel like the Parker household did not have I cannot believe it's not butter.
Right.
Or anything similar to that. No. So, oops.
That's okay.
There we go. All right, I'll just equal distribution there.
Yeah, that's with the instructions for the rest of this recipe say to serve with butter and maple syrup.
Well, that's what we have.
And to eat them hot.
Oh, well, they are hot. They have butter applied to them. Now we're going to get the maple syrup applied.
I can't wait to hear what you thought about these.
I feel like I should try them without it, but like since...
No, May says
yeah, and I remember I'm going to pour them like picture perfect.
Well, you did. It looks fantastic.
I remember whenever Peter would eat them, he would eat them... First of all, like a skyscraper-sized pile,
right?
And also drowned in maple syrup. I'm just gonna get a big pile of them here.
Okay.
Okay, they are lighter than I expected.
Yep.
There we go.
And everyone who's following along at home knows why.
Okay. Those are dense.
Uh-huh.
Those are wheaty.
Yep.
I've never had anything like this before in my life.
Nope.
Let me try this again. Hang on.
Okay.
They fall apart.
Yeah.
In your mouth.
Yep.
You know? But they hold firm in physical space.
Uh-huh.
I think I like them.
Yeah, you know what's funny? When I tried them, out of the gate, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
There's something wrong here. But the more I, snacked on it, the more I found myself wanting them.
Yeah, I think these are one of those situations where where you'll think nothing of them, and then you'll crave them.
Yeah. Yeah, I found myself, as I was testing them and like testing the little tweaks I made to the recipe, I just kept snacking on the extra wheat cakes that I had laying around. So I couldn't wait to hear what you thought about this because it definitely has a texture, and that comes from the buckwheat flour. The buckwheat flour is what I like to describe as edible sand. It looks like sand. It is a little more grainy, and there's nothing in this to cut that. So you definitely have texture to these wheat cakes. That lightness you're talking about, there's whipped egg whites in this, so that's where that comes from. There's also buttermilk, and they're not very sweet.
No.
The only sweetness comes from the molasses, which isn't super sweet to begin with.
Yeah.
So you are relying on your maple syrup.
I gotta say, I don't know. I don't. This is excellent.
I'm telling you, the more you eat them, the more you're like, oh, I gotta have them.
Honestly, if it's a cold winter's night or morning, and you have to go to Midtown High, and you're, a nebbish teenager, I can imagine these giving you the strength you need to power through the day, at least until you get bitten by an irradiated spider.
Exactly.
When we procured this recipe,
yes,
I got it from Untold Tales of Spider-Man, annual number 1996.
Okay.
And that was written by Kurt Busiek, who's a huge comic book aficionado and knows his history. And because we live in this age, I tweeted at him and I said, "Did you write the recipe in Untold 96?" And his response was, "Aunt May did." So we know for a fact these are authentic. These are legit. These are real deal Aunt May wheat cakes.
This is real deal Aunt May wheat cakes. And the only thing I adjusted was I added a little more water.
I think you probably needed to do that because that's...
Because I was really concerned that the middle of them would not...
Look at how they hold together. I can get all of them in one forkful. This is... I've never... Look at that.
Right? Yeah. But I could definitely see a young Peter Parker being introduced to these and being like, I don't know what to make of them, and then wanting them. I
could also see why, Mary Jane doesn't really get it. And why Anna Maria Marconi had to change them. Would you say this is easy to make? I mean, if people are at home watching this, they're probably thinking to themselves, I want that right now.
Right. No, it is. It is pretty simple. The steps we took may seem like they took a little bit of time to get to, but the fact is, May put in some extra steps. Usually there would be your wet ingredients, your dry ingredients, and you combine the two, and there you go. But there's a couple of other steps along the way that she wants you to do. And they don't really take that long. So yeah, I think this is a pretty easy recipe. You just have to be able to get your hands on buckwheat flour and the whole wheat flour, both of which I found in our Mega Mart. You know what I mean? You just go there. They have so many, especially in the specialty foods aisle where there's gluten-free and all that stuff and organic. Definitely find your buckwheat flour there, or you could always order it online. You definitely can get it there.
I gotta stop.
Okay, that's fair.
These are really filling.
They are. I get why May Parker is convinced that this is Peter Parker's favorite food.
Oh yeah, he would eat this by the stack.
Yeah.
Him and Ben, and let me tell you, I don't know if I could eat I just literally did eat an entire stack, but I don't know if I could eat more than a stack of these things.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
I've never felt more like Peter Parker than right now.
Yeah?
Yep.
That's amazing. It's also spectacular.
And a web of.
Exactly. I think May Parker's onto something here with these, and I hope you guys give him a shot. If you like this video, give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Sal.
Thanks for eating my food and being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, next time, I'm down, so.
Yeah, whatever we're making in here, you're gonna try it. All right, so we'll see you guys next time. Bye.